deploy. The Nasdaq's down around 7.5% from kind of the recent highs, right? So what my plan is here, if we hit over 10% down in the Nasdaq, I'll go, quite a bit heavier in the market. If we go 20% plus down, from recent highs in regards to NASDAQ or S&P 500, that's where I really start loading pro and start buying extremely heavily, like pretty much as heavy as possible. And the reason being is you just don't get those opportunities that often. So if you ever can get the NASDAQ or the S&P 500 or both to go down 20+%, from recent highs, 100% of the time, it makes sense to load the boat. There's never been a time period where it doesn't make sense to load the boat. Look back to the Great Financial Crisis, look back to the Rona crash, right? Look back to any time period you want. Look back to the 2022 crash, look back to the Great Depression. It doesn't matter what time period, we want to look at. Every single time period in the history of the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ has always been a buy, right? And if you can never get it for that 20% plus down, you better be loading the boat. And so, in the short term, sometimes it can fall even further. It can go down 30 or 50%, but you don't always want to count on that. If you get that 30 or 50%, then you keep buying and you just say, thank you, like this is even going to be even a bigger upside move over the next few years coming out of this, right? But basically the way to think about it is the bigger the downside move is in the NASDAQ, the bigger the downside move is in the S&P 500, the bigger the upside move will be over the next few years coming out of that. And you can look back to every crash that's ever happened. The bigger the correction or crash, the more extreme the upside move is on the other side. So always kind of keep that in mind, right? So, and 2022 is just a great recent example, because that's the most recent example we had where, S&P, the NASDAQ was going down a lot and I was buying extremely heavily, right? And by the time we got to the end of 2022, I got actually very, very low on cash. You know why? Because I was buying and I was buying and I was buying, right? And so if we had some sort of major, huge correction or crash in the NASDAQ or in the S&P 500, I could be in a situation where I end up, getting very, very low on cash, right? But that's going to take time for that to play out, right? A good video for you guys to check out if you haven't got to check out it. Open Landscapers in the Backyard now. Good video for you guys to check out if you have never got to see this one is 16 years of stock market advice in 52 minutes. That's a 2024 classic. I don't think I had any landscapers in for that one, but it's always entertaining here in the household, folks, okay? Appreciate you guys joining me as always. Thanks so much for being here, folks. If you're looking to apply for a Fred Stock Group, Wealth Group, access to thousandxstocks.com. Learn all the stuff you need to learn in this game. Pin comment down there, fill out the form so you can get you access to that. Let's see. Today's Thursday. Maybe this weekend, but probably next week, and get you up to a much higher level than where you're at. Okay. All right, guys. Much love and have a great day.
And 1998, and that was when I first started working on the UFC. I started again as a commentator in 2001. So in 1997, when I knew him, he knew that I did martial arts. He knew I was obsessed with this, and then so he contacts me, like I guess it was like 2005 or something like that, somewhere around there, and he says, "Listen, this sounds crazy, but Wesley Snipes wants to have the UFC." And he wanted to fight Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we didn't think that would be compelling, and so we offered some other names, and we said, what about Joe Rogan? And he said yes. And I said, what do you mean, like, when are we talking? I've been training jiu-jitsu. I've been training kickboxing still. I was regularly training. And so now I really ramp that. Lord, he was kind of a martial arts guy. Yeah, he was martial arts, but I was around like, and now that he's any ground. And that's a giant problem. And so I was I competed nationally in Taekwondo for 5 or 6 years, traveling around the country, and I had 3 kickboxing fights. And I was stand up, and even then, I was a as time went on, I think he kind of understood that it was a bad idea. I think initially he thought it could have been chemically fueled, these conversations. I trained every day. I trained for 6 months. I was kickboxing with Rob Kamen in the morning, and I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I was start big for the negotiation. We're gonna split 50-50, this and that, blah blah blah. And I said, okay, great. And then a couple of weeks went by after the lawyers involved, whole thing, and it was like Leslie wants 60-40. And this time I already invested so much time training. I go, just give it to me. Like, this guy up. I go, just give it to me. Just give it to me. And then it got to the point where, just give me $500,000. I don't care what you give Leslie. I go, give me $500,000. We're going to agree on that. Just give it to me. I'm going to fucking strangle this guy. I'm going to get a hold of him.
Woo!
I was convinced. And I was like, Jesus, what's like, it took all my energy and I it was weird. I became like a different person for almost so like when you hear the name Wesley Snipes now, there's not like a little part of your brain that still clicks. No. I think he did smart thing. I think he did smart thing by not doing it. It's just so interesting. We got to experience version of what it feels like to prepare to fight something. Yeah. People just don't get it, right? Well, I fought a bunch of things. And it had been more than 10 years since my last fight, but I knew what it was like. I knew the experience. I knew the training out there was like absolutely that like that's a legitimate problem of jiu-jitsu. I had training jiu-jitsu, but it was like I think I had this idea that he was going to be able to hit me when I was trying to take him down. I was like, fucking happily stand up. Do you think that Zuckerberg, Musk, was ever, that did you ask him, please? Zuckerberg is he trains hard. He trains with legit guys. He trains all the time. He's very smart. He's very obsessed by it. And he's legitimately trained. He's significantly smarter. Elon's a great guy. That would go so far, especially in the United States.